Okay guys, 10 seconds. Camera 3, just pull to the 2 shot there, the 2 guys in the middle. 5, 4, 3, 2, cue. I was a complete failure at high school. I was good with my hands with mechanical things, but intellectually not very good at all. And the day I turned 15 was the day I left high school. I literally walked out of school one day and into a job in an engineering factory the next. So I saved up $30 and bought my first Super 8 film camera. And with that I started making little movies with my brother and our friends. So I started recording bands in pubs just to get experience and hands-on and actually film something. It got to a point where people were asking me to shoot some corporate videos for them. And it got to a point really where I had to make a choice. Do I keep with my day job, working in a factory, or do I leave that completely and start working for myself? And so I started working for myself. That's eventually how I got into television production. I've worked for all of the commercial television stations here in Australia, including the ABC and SBS. Around 2000 to 2003, I was an employee of the 7 network here in Australia as a news cameraman editor and then commercial producer director. I then became the media manager for the Queensland Air Show. I've done so many things over the years. Documentaries in Arnhem Land in Papua New Guinea. These were privately funded documentaries. I spent 10 years shooting and editing television commercials for 3 advertising agencies. I was effectively, I call myself a gun for hire. Eventually, when I did come back to Melbourne from Queensland, as I say, I was doing all this commercial work. It was a job this week and then nothing for a few weeks. It was very up and down work-wise and money-wise. And I thought, if I could create something where I have a regular income every week and I own it, that would be even better. So I created a television series called River to Reef. I got together with a friend of mine and we produced 2 pilot episodes, which I shot and edited. I think it took me about 2 weeks to make those 2 episodes. And then the following week we had our first check for $2,000 from our first sponsor. And that series that I thought really was going to last 13 episodes lasted 14 years. Channel 31's where we started. At one point we had 110,000 viewers per night watching, just in Melbourne. We were the highest rating show for 3 months. Then I networked the program. We had it on Channel 31 in Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth. Combined those figures were around the 200,000, 250 per week, but that still wasn't enough. I wanted more. I contacted an organisation called Southern Cross 10, which was regional Channel 10 throughout Australia, so country television. So all of a sudden, our combined audience figures with regional Channel 10 and the Channel 31s were around the 350,000 people per week, which is pretty good going for a little fishing show.
This is 7 Local News.
Queensland's Madrid Tourism Ministry has received welcome attention from a national television program. Almost 300,000 viewers will see why cyclone and flood-devastated regions are still open for business.
And then there were 18 fishing shows on television. And a lot of those shows over the years had started copying parts of our show. We were the first to take a boat on the road to show female and family viewers what they could go and do in a township while her husband or boyfriend is out fishing. So then other shows started copying that lifestyle segment and taking a boat on the road. Then we added a cooking segment, thinking if the guys are going fishing, they're catching fish, they come back at the end of the day, we'll cook the fish and the whole family can get together and have a meal. Then a lot of the others started copying. And it became very difficult to stay ahead of that game. And then it dawned on me, there's one vital ingredient that I wasn't using to its fullest potential, and that was my skill as a cinematographer. But it got to a point where it was quite difficult to actually stay ahead of the game. All of a sudden you found other shows that were getting big sponsor dollars and hiring big production companies to make their programs. And then of course Foxtel came into play. And then the internet, of course. The audience has fragmented tremendously. I think in our final days, on a good day, probably around the 50,000 mark nationally. And so we decided to call it a day on River to Reef. When I decided to wrap River to Reef up, I was a little bit lost. Yes, I'm almost at retirement age, but I don't feel like stopping. I enjoy what I'm doing. And then, of course, my other passion, many years ago, I raced motorcycles, road racing. So I decided to have a go at creating a streaming program in my shed at home, which is where we are right now. I set up a studio. I built everything that you see. I built the set, I built the desk, I built everything. So while I was building that stuff, of course, I'm thinking about the show. How's this going to work? Is it going to work? So it's a big experiment, really. We will see if the viewers take to it. Stand by in credits. Stand by. Hold. Ready on 4. Take 4. Roll in credits. Okay, well done everyone. Job done.